Hit the shower, grab your coffee, and get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Usen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? Just like the big voice lady just said, we are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I am Charlie Usen, my guy Jack Pembroke on the other side of the glass over there, wearing a lovely purple hat. I am not wearing something as lovely. I'm wearing an Aaron Rodgers jersey because we decided to make this bet last week because I was way too confident in the Chicago Bears for some reason. And the Bears could not get it done. So now I have to sit here in a Green Bay Packers jersey, not only a Green Bay Packers jersey, but an Aaron Rodgers jersey, Jack.
The original owner of the Bears.
Yeah. Whatever. Get out of here. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. We are presented by Apollo Cafe and Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor right there on historic Brady Street. We got a great show lined up for you guys today outside of me wearing this jersey. We're going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks taking down the Boston Celtics on Thursday night. A great game for that team. They played some great defense. They shot really well from the field, and they stopped the Celtics from getting hot in certain stretches of this game. We want to talk about how they can keep this up in order to cool those Giannis rumors a little bit. Then we're going to dive into Christian Watson, his back-to-back big weeks for Green Bay, and whether or not he's going to be the number one option once again this week, or things are going to change against a top-tier Broncos defense. In the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to dive into Phillip Rivers, potentially starting for the Colts on Sunday. A really weird situation. 44-year-old, 208 million pound Phillip Rivers, for some reason, is coming back and playing for the Indianapolis Colts. Really weird situation there.
Desperation calls.
That's what it feels like. But we wanted to ask you if you could add one legend at their current age. So they have to be 60 years old if they're 60 years old right now, and you can add them to your team. Who would it be? And as always, to close off the show, we got the Warlocks Locks at 10:20 and Wisconsin Sports Weekend's Pub Crawl to close off the show at 9:40. To start off the show today, though, we wanted to dive into this Green Bay Packers matchup versus the Denver Broncos on Sunday afternoon. Denver Broncos are the number one seed in the AFC right now. Like I mentioned earlier, they have one of the top-tier elite defenses in the entire NFL at this moment. It should be a really awesome game because the Green Bay Packers also are playing with one of the top-tier elite defenses in the game right now. Jack, just looking at the quarterback matchup between these two players, Bo Nix, I know, is only in his second year, but he's been really solid, really consistent throughout his career so far in the 1.5 years. Jordan Love is one more year experience, really, because he only has those 3 years starting. But he's seen that kind of MVP-style jump this season. Between these two quarterbacks, who do you trust more within their offenses heading into Denver at Mile High?
I think you have to go with the hot hand. And Jordan looks very hot right now. It looks like all things are hitting on every cylinder. The deep ball is back. I think we kind of alluded to that with Jaden Reed and Christian Watson getting back in the fold, that he'd have that ability to go second or third tier passes. I mean, look, I'm a little biased. Big Packer fan, owner. But I just think right now you start to see more trust in Matt LaFleur in this offense and letting it be up to Jordan and on his shoulders.
And I think that's a good place to be. I think if you're Jordan Love, you want to be trusting Matt LaFleur in this offense more than what I think we saw in the first half of the season, more than what we saw in the past few years. But I think the other key to this is Matt LaFleur trusting Jordan Love as well on the opposite side of things. These two have a different relationship that I think we've seen between these two guys in the past couple of years so far. When I look at the Denver Broncos, though, I would say Bo Nix and Sean Payton immediately just hit it off. They've had this connection since he's come in and been the starter for this Broncos team, to where it feels, and I don't want to just push this out there into the universe before it's too ready, but feels like Drew Brees. Kind of feels like that type of player.
Sean Payton alluded to that a year or two ago, where he said, I finally have my guy. And you started to see it's an outdoor Drew Brees. Bo Nix can get it done on his feet. He's accurate when he needs to be accurate. I will admit this on air. During Jordan's second year, I I told my dad I wish the Packers had drafted Bo Nix to be quarterback. So don't feel that way as much anymore, but I do. He's a worthy opponent. It's going to be a litmus test look, in a lot of ways, this is a playoff game. It's a litmus test for where the Packers at, where their offense at, where's their defense at, where's their special teams at. I think this is a prove it game
for the Packers.
Yeah. People still aren't believing after a really solid win against Detroit and a win at home against, I know it's the Bears, but they were the number one team in the NFC going into that.
Well,
game.
And I feel like enough Packers fans have given their respect to the Chicago Bears, though I think most people have come out of that game with the conclusion that that was a good football game between two good football teams.
Yes, very tough.
And that this felt like that was the moment that the Packers were able to come out and kind of put their name fully out there. But at the same time, I mean, the Packers have been this top Super Bowl contender throughout the entire season. Ever since they traded for Micah Parsons, that's what the expectation was.
Yeah.
That's what you have to be if you make that type of trade. So I don't know if I feel like this is a prove-it game in my mind for the Packers. Not for the Broncos. I think this is a prove-it game. I think this is one where you can go into the NFC and take down a team that is considered one of the best, if not the best in some people's eyes, in the league.
Definitely a top 2 or 3 team in the NFC. I think a lot of people also think the NFC is a tougher out than the AFC.
I don't think it's objective. I think it's you look at the NFC and you say that is by far the better conference right now. I also look at the teams that used to compete at the top of the NFC and have kind of slipped down a little bit. And a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who Broncos fans yesterday, if you guys don't follow us on social media at WI Sports Radio, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we are live streaming on YouTube and Twitter right now. So if you want to join us that way, see this really tight jersey that I'm wearing, because I'm apparently a little bit bigger than Jack, which I think
you're bigger than a 6'1", 170-pound man.
Yes, I'm a 6'3", 260-pound man.
Okay.
So yes, but you can see us on there at WI Sports Radio live streaming on there. You can also get in on the show that way by commenting on the live stream, or hitting us up on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250, 1250. Jack or I will pick up the phone, get you on the show that way as well. When I look at this Green Bay Packers team and that loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, it looked really bad at that point. But now I've seen the Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Denver Broncos, a team that people are complaining about. And when I talk about social media, that was one of the biggest things when I put out a clip of Steve Sparky Pfeiffer talking with Mike Evans of 104.3 in Denver. They were discussing whether or not this Denver Broncos team could really be a Super Bowl contender at this point, despite them showing every sign of it, despite them being 11-2, despite them looking like one of the best coached teams in the league. It still feels like this is not for real and that they have to go out there and prove it. Broncos fans don't feel the same way. Those were some of our biggest posts on our social media over the last night, and it's all Broncos fans in the comments saying, what are you talking about? They beat the Chiefs and the Eagles. That was their 2 Super Bowl teams last year. How can you come out here and say that, oh, you know what, they're not ready to go and win a Super Bowl? Because Sparky was still a little skeptical. Jack, are you sitting in that same kind of skeptical pod as Sparky and the rest of the country outside of Denver, it feels like?
I think somewhat, just because you always have to deal with the Bills, and the Bills kind of seem to have righted the ship. Josh Allen isn't making the same type of mistakes. But look,
Josh Allen's going to be a dad, too, if you didn't see that.
I did not see
he's
that.
He's going to get dad strength.
Oh, super dad strength. That's scary, actually. He's going to be running through walls.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
To be fair, Denver, I think, is situated at how they are in the AFC. They're the number 2 seed right now. Great defense. They can rush the quarterback. That's the concern I have going into this game. Are we going to see a Packers front line that can withstand and give pocket room for Jordan to make those beautiful throws that he's been making the last 3 weeks? And this is a really, like we said, litmus test. This is going to show me how good the Packers are. And look, we're going to find out if Denver is a juggernaut coming out of the AFC. If they can run the ball and play defense, yes, I think that they're a legit team. And I think, a lot of people tend to be like NFL flavor of the week. Last year it was probably Kansas City could do no wrong. And sure, they beat Kansas City, they beat the Eagles, but I think we both can tell that those teams are kind of floundering right now.
Yeah, at least Kansas City for sure. Philadelphia started off this season really strong. They have that really bad performance with Jalen Hurts throwing 4 interceptions and having a fumble in that last game against the Chargers. But let's also remember the Chargers are one of the elite defenses in the league too. That was the first game in Jalen Hurts' career where he's had a situation like that, where he's looked that bad. I think this is a time to be like, so many people are talking down on the Eagles and be like, let's not forget they just won the Super Bowl with generally the same team.
Like, they're still going to be a playoff team. They're still going to win.
And they're going to be competitive in the playoffs. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what's happening right now as long as they can get to the playoffs. And you talk about that a lot with teams that have won Super Bowls and all of that. I think people talk about that with the Packers sometimes too. And I'm just not to that point, which brings me to my next question. And I want to head over to Twitter for this because a lot of people have been discussing this topic on there as well. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. And we are asking you, does this Packers game matter more to you with a Packers win, or does it matter more that the Packers, or that the Lions, that the Bears, the two teams that are also competing for playoff spots alongside the Green Bay Packers and the NFC North, go out and lose their games? Somebody on Twitter 2 days ago, I played this video from Stick from Woodward Sports. He was discussing how he feels that the Lions are going to go on the super hot run and meet up with the Packers in the playoffs, and that they're going to beat the Packers in the playoffs. And somebody quote tweeted that and just went, I really hope the Lions lose this week. I hope that the Lions go out there and just get crushed by the LA Rams, that their playoff hopes are just completely diminished, that they come out and realize that they have to go into next season and figure this out a little bit. And then yesterday on Wisconsin Sports Daily, Sparky and I were going back and forth discussing what happens if Josh Jacobs potentially doesn't play in this game for the Green Bay Packers, which right now it looks like is trending towards playing. All the signs are saying he thinks he's ready to go. Matt LaFleur thinks he's ready to go. It'll probably end up being a game time decision. But at the same time, Sparky was saying they should make it a game time decision just to wait and see what happens in the Bears versus Browns game, because the Bears are currently only a half game back of the Packers. And if the Packers can just automatically go 1.5 ahead of them, then they'll be fine. Then they don't have to play Josh Jacobs in this game. And I was kind of like, well, no, because if the Packers go out and lose to the Denver Broncos, they're still only a half game ahead of the Bears going into a game where they have to play the Bears again.
At home, in Chicago. Yeah.
This is a situation where I don't think you want to be in. I think you would prefer to put yourself so much farther ahead of these guys. At the same time, I feel like a lot of Packers fans are confident enough in the Green Bay Packers at this point that they don't really care about this game for some reason. Are you in that mindset?
I'm in the mindset that we have the blinders on. They've been copying the Bears and getting, whether it's ugly or beautiful, they get the dub. And that has shown me that this team's matured enough that I never want to be in the position as a fan or when I've played sports that you're hoping other people do things for your team's success. I like that the Packers control their destiny. We said that last week that, hey, they beat the Lions. They control everything in their hands. All they have to do is go out at home and win. Doesn't matter if it's 1 or 7 points, just get the dub. And now you control your path to the playoffs, to the Super Bowl. You want to get the Lombardi trophy back. It's for me, it's a perfect situation. You get to go test your mettle against one of the top 2 teams in the AFC in somewhere where we are 1-7 in Denver. And look, it's not easy. You're going to be dealing with the climate. You're going to be dealing with the air quality. It's going to be harder to breathe. It's going to be cold. So this, to me, I like the Packers that they sit in the driver's seat. I'd never want to be in a position where I'm saying, well, we need the Bears to do this. We need the Lions to do this. I think the Packers just need to control what they control and focus on what they can focus on. And that's just going into hostile territory and proving to people, hey, we're going to do it again this week.
Well, and I talked about this last week with the Chicago Bears, which is exactly what you're bringing up. You don't want to rely on other people doing bad things for you to be good. And I was saying that for the first time in a really long time, it feels like the Bears are good because the Bears are good and not because the Packers had something happen to their starting quarterback or that the Lions had everybody on their team get hurt. This is the Chicago Bears that you're seeing. I think the Packers should be in that mindset too, obviously, like you're pointing out, that I get it. This whole idea of the rivalries are coming back, that the Bears and Packers are beefing with each other again. And the Lions are this brand new rivalry for both these teams. And the Vikings will always be competitive. Even if they're bad, they're always going to play the NFC North teams hard usually.
The redheaded stepchild.
Exactly. I mean, you have all these teams that are starting to get into this kind of old school mentality. I think you're seeing it across the league too. But I think some people get that clouded in their brain when it comes to situations like this, where the league has so much parity that I think that the Packers need to focus on themselves to the point where if they don't, it could screw them up a little bit. At the same time as saying that, they should pay attention to what's happening with the rest of the NFC North.
Sure.
If they go out and lose this game and the Bears win, guess who flip-flops spots again? Guess who's back in that number 2 seed, and guess who's back in that number 6
and
seed?
now you're crawling back up that hole.
And you're fighting if the Lions can go out and beat the Rams somehow. I mean, you're really screwed then.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I think this is a situation where, no, you can't be rooting for the Bears and Lions to go out there and lose, but you also can't be just ignoring what's happening in those games as a Packers fan.
I think it's good to be aware, but honestly, when you look at your path as a team and focus on what you have to do, the other stuff falls into place. And I think that's a lot in life experiences when you aren't doing extra stuff and you're not focusing on, hey, what's John doing over here? What's Robert doing over there? Focus on what you can control and play within yourself. That's my hope for the Packers for this week and then next week when we have to get it done again in Chicago.
So I want to go back to those social media posts I was talking about with that short that I posted of Sparky and Mike Evans out in Denver. And a lot of those Denver fans seemed more aggressive than even like Bears fans were last week when people were talking about, oh, the Bears aren't for real. The Packers just have to go out there and do their job and they'll be fine. And the Bears fans were getting all mad saying, like, you have to take it seriously. You have to take it seriously. Do you think that this is something that clouds the minds of the Denver Broncos players as well going into a game like this, not just their fan base? Because I feel like for the Chicago Bears, there's a lot of moments in that game where it felt like they were buying into the rivalry more and more, and I think it was detrimental to that team. Do you think Denver is going to go in with that same mentality, or is it because it's not a rival? Does it not matter as much?
If Sean Payton is a smart coach, you don't rely on bulletin board material. You don't. If your team is ready to play, you don't need to get someone up by saying, "Oh, they said this," or "Oh, they don't believe this. They think we're fake." That's every coach says that. Even if you're coaching AAU basketball, these guys don't respect you. You've got to go out there and earn respect and all those cute things.
Yeah, but also I think there's a difference to that versus from a team that, like the Denver Broncos, goes from like kind of middle of the league to the one of the best teams in the league, or the Bears who go from bottom of the league to one of the best teams in the league. I think that jump that quickly changes your mindset a little bit from the coaching standpoint. I think you can go and a lot of those coaches will go out there and say what you're saying in that situation. If you're a team like the Packers, if you're a head coach like Sean Payton, I don't know if you go in with that same mentality because he knows what success looks like. He knows that this team, if they are good enough, he's seen that before and he can coach that up a little bit. I think you have to go in with a different mentality that no, it's not that they don't respect you. It's that you're going to make them respect you. It's not that, oh, we have to show them that you are for real now. Broncos are for real. Go out there and coach your team and play like you are. It's about whether or not the Packers at the end of this game are really going to respect you.
I think Sean Payton's going to more focus on what they're good at, right? Mm-hmm. And not what you're inadequate and what you have holes on your team. They're going to focus on the run game. RJ Harvey is going to get fed. He's been successful in the pass game. And I think we've seen a regression of Troy Franklin. And there's definitely some milk cartons on some other wide receivers on that team. But I think they need to focus. Their front seven is so good at getting after the quarterback. That's how you start to win this game. And then you control it with the run game by keeping this offense off the field. I hate that I'm giving you the nutritional fact sheet to beat the Packers, but that's how I do it. You get them in long third down situations, kind of like what the Bears were doing in the first half of that game where it's 3rd and 25, 3rd and 15. That's hard for any good quarterback to say, okay, we got this. We got a good play for this, and we're going to march on. I think you have to focus on the run game if you're Denver, and you have to focus on that pass rush because they're so good at that.
For sure. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, we're going to dive into the Milwaukee Bucks' big win over Boston on Thursday night and what they need to continue doing moving forward in order to cool the hot stove that is the Giannis trade rumors right now. Like I said, this is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back. Yeah, you definitely give me Beastie Boy vibes, Jack. You seem like the type.
Oh, dude, they're one of my favorite. I was a white kid in DC.
That's fair.
You know,
Okay, good point. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke over there. And we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you guys just missed us talk about the Packers and whether or not them winning this game matters more to you than the Bears and Lions losing on Sunday, you can hit us up on the Nicolay Law talk and text line 414-677-1250. Again, that's 414-677-1250, 1250 to get in on the show that way. We're also live streaming on YouTube, on Twitter at WI Sports Radio. You can comment on the comment section on there. Usually we get our guy Q. He was so excited about me wearing a Packers jersey, and now he's not even here commenting in the comment section, Jack.
Gosh, Q, come on, man.
Right? You're supposed to be our third co-host.
This is his moment.
Exactly. His shining time to get on the show again, as usual. But like I said, we are Wisconsin Sports Weekend. We wanted to dive into the Milwaukee Bucks out of the Green Bay Packers and discuss their big win over the Boston Celtics on Thursday night. They went out there and put up a great performance shooting the ball, much better than I think a lot of people expected. Kyle Kuzma goes in this game, has 31 points. Bobby Portis off the bench drops 27. This is a situation where I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks were just on one against a team that is usually very defensively sound in the Boston Celtics, especially this season. Without Jason Tatum on the court, they've been playing guys like Jordan Walsh, who's a defensive monster. And in this game, he played really well defensively. He's just awful on offense, so he can't make shots. Sam Hauser is like one of the worst overall players when it comes to plus minus and efficiency rating in the league, and he showed it in this game again. It seemed like this was a situation where the Milwaukee Bucks walked into this one and just took over. They had a game plan. Kevin Porter Jr. has a triple-double in this game, and I know defensively he is like lost so far this season. It's been really frustrating to watch him that way. But offensively, that man has it. Like, he is that good offensively that I think if he can play a full season, he's going to do numbers for this team, for the Milwaukee Bucks. Jack, out of this game against the Boston Celtics, what do you think was the most impressive to you in this situation?
I think it was two things. Bobby Portis came alive. He's been listening to you critique him. That was exciting for me. And I think we saw KPJ show us glimpses of last year. And I think you've got to, from a Giannis perspective, you've got to start thinking like, and this is the way back machine. And I know you're too young to really remember this, but Princeton had a really good run under Senator Bill Bradley, who was a
New York
phenom.
Knicks legend. I know that.
Yep. And played with Phil Jackson. And he went out about 2 or 3 weeks before they made that big push in March to get to a Final Four. And I think, to me, my hope with the Bucks is, A, they're showing Giannis, hey, we've got players on this team. B, they're creating their own chemistry. So when Giannis comes back, there are point man, there are other positions that can actually do stuff. And Giannis is saying to himself, okay, the Knicks don't look that great. I can come back and we have something salvageable and we can make a run.
So then my question is, because before this game, they were starting Jericho Sims kind of in that Giannis role, because I think they felt like this is the type of player, the type of play style that we're looking for to fit Giannis's game style. And it worked well for a couple of games, and then you saw about 3 straight games of Jericho Sims getting 30 minutes and like 0 points and 3 rebounds, and he was on the court for a majority of that game. It's a little frustrating to see moments like that, but then Kyle Kuzma in this game against the Boston Celtics barely shoots from 3, is doing a lot more kind of interior, trying to bully ball a little bit himself into the paint. Do you feel like they're using Kyle Kuzma in that kind of semi-Giannis role now, and do you think that is the right decision over some other players?
Look, I saw a baby hook that Kyle Kuzma hit.
Nasty one. Yeah.
He is feeling it, man. And I will stand here and admit I was a huge Kyle Kuzma hater. Wanted him traded before the season started. And now it's almost like, why, Kyle Kuzma's going to keep Giannis here with this type of play style? I don't think you can have him give you those points when Giannis comes back like that. But I like to see the aggressiveness. I like to see him being physical and taking it to the lane. He's hitting jump shots. He's able to take it in against, like you said, a Celtics team that plays this weird thing called defense that the NBA doesn't know anything about. And it's it's got to give Giannis like, okay, I have a second option and a third option right now, separate from myself.
Right.
I love to see Kyle Kuzma doing things that he was doing with the Wizards when he was the main dude. I did not expect him to do this without Giannis on the court. And it's kind of a pleasant surprise. And to me, it starts to cool off the thoughts of, oh, I need to go to this team because they have this guy or this guy. I think Giannis is going to start, hopefully and biasly, start to notice that the grass is greener where you water it.
I guess. I think what I get a little worried about, I think I'm going to take a little bit more glass half empty approach on this, is that what Giannis is going to see is Kyle Kuzma going out there doing his job as well as he can, and then being mad that they're just finding people to kind of go out there and be you, and that the Bucks are supposedly looking at a Kyle Kuzma, like you're saying, be the guy that he was in the Wizards, but in more of a Giannis-centric style role, and that the Bucks are going out here and basically saying, look, we don't need you to do that. We can figure that out. We can work with this, which obviously they cannot. Giannis is one of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball. Don't get me wrong. Like, I want to preface this with Giannis is one of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball.
No hate mail for Charlie.
None. Like, he is that good. But the Milwaukee Bucks have to find any kind of advantage in this situation at all. And right now they don't. They don't have any advantage.
No.
Their team is decimated without Giannis. They have no draft picks. Their players that are on the squad are meant to be there for Giannis. So if Giannis isn't on the court, it's really kind of just weird to watch this team because it sometimes feels like they don't have an identity. In this game, it looks like they put Kyle Kuzma into that spot to have an identity with this team, and it helped kind of get everybody else into their roles more comfortably, I think you saw. The other thing I want to point out in this game, too, and why we maybe shouldn't get as excited about the Milwaukee Bucks, is that they're playing a team in the Boston Celtics that just don't have a center. They're starting Neemias Queta.
The famous Neemias Queta.
Yeah, the super famous Neemias Queta, who's actually playing pretty well this season. He has 10 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 1.6 assists on 65% shooting. Now, that is only in 23 total games on the season. He's only averaging 24 minutes, but this is not like a star stud. This is not Nikola Jokic. This is not Joel Embiid, even though Joel Embiid isn't really Joel Embiid anymore. This isn't Jalen Duren, who's been one of the best centers in the league, Alperen Sengun. This is Neemias Queta. This is a guy that you should go out there and help dominate in the paint, and that a guy like Bobby Portis should have 27 points. And Kyle Kuzma shooting 13 from 17 from the paint should result in a win for this team. Moving forward here, if they were to play a team with a real center, so if we go and look at the Milwaukee Bucks' upcoming schedule for this team, I mean, they got the Brooklyn Nets right away next. That's a Nicholas Claxton-led defensive team on that side of the ball. Now, not a very good team, but then you got Toronto, who has a couple centers in their rotation. Then you got Minnesota, who is only centers. Rudy Gobert is out there, is just one of the best defensive players in the league. Let's see how that goes. Let's see how they play against these teams. I'm excited for what I'm seeing on the court, but at the same time, to say that this is enough from what we're seeing to cool down the hot stove, to say that Giannis trades and Giannis rumors that keep popping up are going to go away because Kyle Kuzma has 31 points. You need to see this on a more consistent basis, and I think you need to see it in a way where it still looks like the Bucks need Giannis somehow. Like right now, they're doing it in a way where it seems like they don't need Giannis, which feels weird to say again. But the NBA media is going to notice that. They're going to look at this and say, "Oh, Kyle Kuzma can do it too. The Bucks should be really looking to move on from Giannis." They have to find a way where it looks like they still need Giannis, but to win games, which is damn near impossible.
Half of me feels that all the Giannis talk is like back. I know you're a little bit younger than me, but this is Brett Favre, will he, won't he type stuff. And it generates so much click. It generates so many people going on Twitter, going on YouTube and engaging with their apps and ESPN. So I feel like half of it is ESPN, like, well, we can't lose this yellow journalism. We need to keep putting it out there so we have connection to the NBA and fans. In general, I think you're right that it's not enough for Giannis and his camp to say, we're good. This looks great. I can come back and I'll slip right back into this and it'll work out. We'll just start winning. That's dumb to think. I do. The only saving grace from this and the silver lining from this is, as a fan, I didn't think we'd see Kyle Kuzma do this. I didn't think
that's fair. Yeah.
So
Ryan Rollins playing the way he is. Yeah, we didn't expect that.
So I think there's a smidge of Giannis saying, okay, we got something here, but you're right. We have to see more of it. We're going to have to see them play a Toronto Raptors, which is a great team in the East. We're going to have to see them, like you said, go play guys amongst the redwood forest in Minnesota, and you're going to have to be able to bang around with those guys and be physical. I'd love to see more of it. I guess it's okay to be excited a little bit, but
I think that's fair. I mean, like it's been so negative when you look at this Bucks team over the past couple weeks. They went on that really long losing streak. They were able to take down the Detroit Pistons 2 weeks ago, and that felt really good for this team. And then Giannis gets hurt again. This is a time where I think a lot of people should be excited to watch the Bucks because you get to see what's happening with everybody else on this team. At the same time, I feel like this is something where you can't ignore the stuff that's happening outside of the court as well. And that right now, what is happening directly on the court will directly affect Giannis moving forward here. And I know Giannis himself has not specifically said anything. He hasn't officially asked for a trade, but the rumors are out there and they're real. And
they're not going away.
Teams are actually calling the Bucks like this is real. Like people are actually trying to find a way to get Giannis out of Milwaukee at this moment. And the Milwaukee Bucks, I know the guys on the court are playing for themselves and playing for a paycheck too. But at the same time, you have to find a way to make it seem like it's worthwhile for Giannis to stop looking outside of Milwaukee at this point. And I know that the front office has done their part and put the players on the court that I'm not calling for the front office. I'm calling for the guys on the court to go out there and prove that you can be this competitive team in a really weak East right now. You just beat one of the top teams in the East into the Boston Celtics.
Giannis.
Without your star player. Go out there and prove that you can be this championship team consistently without Giannis. And then when you do have Giannis on the court, man, the sky's the limit. You just have to do this consistently.
So I'm going to go to the dugout really quickly. We've got John Aaron saying you should have a running bit where Jack puts a white beard on and talks to you about how things were back in the day, but it's actually just 2005.
Geriac jerk Jack moments.
I love it. I love it. Back in my day.
We can figure out that we could keep the white beard for Warlock's Lots.
Oh my gosh, beautiful.
Which will be happening today at 10:20, just like every Saturday here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend. That's where Jack, the Wisconsin Warlock Pembroke over there, will pull a few tarot cards, special cards to help you make the best fantasy choices in your fantasy football leagues across the country, especially as we get into the playoffs here. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, broadcasting live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We are broadcasting live in Green Bay and Appleton on this beautiful network. We are broadcasting live in Wausau, 93.9 The Game. Duluth, Superior, 710 The Game. And right here in southeastern Wisconsin and Milwaukee on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Thank you so much for tuning in all across the state of Wisconsin. We love having you guys on board. It's so much fun being a part of this. I love hearing from people all the way up in Wausau to all the way people down in like Cleveland. Sometimes we get calls from.
We love being connected to the people that love our shows and listen to us.
It's a lot of fun. So thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more ahead of us to discuss. Next up, we're going to dive into Christian Watson and his two big games that he's had, and whether or not that's something we should expect to see against the Denver Broncos as well. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek Superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. We will be right back. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Weekend. That beautiful singing voice you hear over there is Jack Pembroke. I am Charlie Houston, and like I said, we are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. And we are broadcasting live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We did want to dive into a little bit of Christian Watson here, but I did want to head over to the Nicolay Law Talking text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, 1250 to get it in on the show that way. Our guy in the 414 says, does this team get any better if the Bucks pursue Zach LaVine? And someone needs to tell Jack where the Redwood Forests are, because it ain't Minnesota.
St. Luke's 8th grade champion in geography. I know where the Redwoods are, Nick, but I was alluding to the tall players on Minnesota. But you're right. The Redwoods are in California. And no, we do not get better with Zach LaVine.
8th grade geography. Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing.
I was in 6th grade when I won it.
Ooh,
oh, yeah.
Playing with the big boy.
Oh, yeah. They weren't ready.
But to your main question over here, does this team get better if Zach LaVine is added to it? No, I don't think so. When I look at Zach LaVine as a player, the two things that he does really well is shoot threes and be able to get to the basket consistently. He is one of the best in the league, and even with his ACL tears, he still finds ways to draw fouls. He finds ways to get to the basket. I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, so I watched him for a while on that team, even with DeMar DeRozan, who he's playing with right now. Both those guys are extremely great offensive players, but do not do the two things that the Milwaukee Bucks need most. And part of the reason they were able to beat the Boston Celtics, actually the whole reason they were able to beat the Boston Celtics, is because of those two things. Defense, being able to play perimeter defense better than what league average is to some degree, which Zach LaVine does not help you do. And the other thing is rebounding. This was the first game when in all season that I think they've been without Giannis that they have out-rebounded their opponent. You have to be able to do that at least at a 25% rate, and the Milwaukee Bucks are not doing that right now. Zach LaVine doesn't help you with those things. I wish he did.
He doesn't make any of your holes better. He does not improve on any of our weaknesses. And look, great athlete, good player. I don't think it moves the meter for us being a better playoff team.
Doesn't really feel that much different than Damian Lillard at this point in his career, if I'm being completely honest. That was one of the issues I saw with Damian Lillard too when he was playing with Giannis, is that you just saw the decrease in defensive pressure at the perimeter when he was on the court. And I think Zach LaVine gives you that same kind of negative energy on the defensive end. And because of that, I just don't want to risk moving pieces that could be useful. Ryan Rollins, could potentially be the most improved player. I think he's leading the league right now in the projections for that award. I don't want to lose that for a Zach LaVine that you're going to have for 1 to 2 years that doesn't do much more than Ryan Rollins.
That's a good point, Charlie. We already have a Zach LaVine who I think is a little bit better than Zach LaVine, and it's Ryan Rollins' position. He's lanky, he's athletic, he can get to the hoop, he can shoot, he can guard. To me, you don't need to go out and make big splashes right now. And the Celtics game kind of proved that. We have good pieces. You just need Giannis to be healthy.
You need Giannis to be healthy, and you also need Doc Rivers to have the right game plan. I think for the first time in a while without Giannis on the court, he's been able to have that type of game plan. So this is a situation where if this team can keep playing at this level, no, you don't need a Zach LaVine. Even if they were to play worse than this and they still want to try to find a way to fight for a playoff spot, no, I don't think Zach LaVine is the answer in this situation. I think there's other players across the league that maybe don't have the same kind of name value as a Zach LaVine that come in and do the things that you're looking for.
See, that's what it is. It is, you hit it on the nail. He's a big name, and a lot of people are like, oh, what if? Look, we've seen it in Chicago, like you pointed out. Good scorer. I don't think he makes you a championship winning team.
No, he does not. And this is a situation where the Bucks, if they're not looking to be championship contenders with Giannis on this team, then you shouldn't be looking to do anything but honestly tank. And Zach LaVine doesn't help you do either of those things right now. I did want to touch on Christian Watson a little bit in this segment here. If we head over to his last 2 games for the Green Bay Packers, he has been on a tear. Christian Watson has come back from big-time surgery over the offseason, and in 7 games so far this season has just been absolutely phenomenal for this team. Again, against the Detroit Lions, he had 4 catches for 10 yards, 4 catches for 10 on 10 targets for 80 yards and a touchdown, and then also caught 4 more balls on 4 targets, was 100% on his completion percentage with Jordan Love for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Bears. He has been completely on fire. This is a game where I think he can come out here and really burn the Broncos defense, who are going to be in generally man coverage for a majority of this game. Jack, do you feel like he is the pretty easy option for this Green Bay Packers team in terms of maybe fantasy projections to be that number one wide receiver versus maybe a Matthew Golden who's 100% healthy in this game, Jayden Reed who's 100% healthy in this game? You're going to see a lot more guys get into that rotation. Is it just as easy as saying, though, Christian Watson is that guy now for Jordan Love?
I think in a couple of ways he is. He's our deep threat, obviously, first and foremost, but he's averaging somewhere around 20 yards a catch. That's what we are missing. I mean, you lose Tucker Kraft, and he was the guy who was just, our Swiss utility belt, that he was just doing everything and anything we needed from him. And we talked about this early in the year that, hey, don't worry, this offense is going to look a lot different with a healthy Jayden Reed, a healthy Christian Watson. As much as the Packers get lambasted for, you just have 5, 2 or 3 wide receivers, you don't have a number one wide receiver. We have position-based wide receivers where Christian Watson can give you that big body downfield and stretch the defense. Jayden Reed is going to give you those crosses and those sweeps, kind of like what we were hoping Matthew Golden could provide. So everyone knows, I think the wide receivers know what Jordan wants from them and how we need to use them. Like you said, a lot of man coverage. What scares me is Patrick Surtain is the shark that is just swimming in the deep end, waiting for some of these balls. I think I listened a little bit to the Mason Crosby show, and Tommy and Mason kind of brought this up that, hey, don't shy away from Patrick Surtain. Go at him. Maybe on a second down or a third down on one of the first drives, show them that, hey, we can hit you up for 40 or 50 yards. That's part of our game plan right now. We can stretch the field. I did not think Christian Watson can come back this quickly and be this dynamic. It shows me, I was at the Cowboys game where he caught 3 touchdowns from Rodgers in the comeback. I didn't think I'd ever see that other Christian Watson again without a Rodgers throwing to him. And it's increased Jordan Love's ability, and it's really projected us into, we have another facet in the offense. It's not just dumping to tight end. It's not just running the ball. And the weeks before Christian Watson, we were throwing 2 yards past the line and throwing all these little dinky.
There was a couple of weeks where Jordan Love was like 10 for 15 behind 5 yards and only had like 5 total attempts beyond 5 yards. Like he would only throw the ball 20 times in a game. And half of those, or a majority of those, would be behind the line of scrimmage. This is a situation where I think a Christian Watson really helps improve that. And you talk about how each of these players have their roles for the Green Bay Packers. I think Christian Watson is kind of going beyond that. You talk about his dynamics. Last week you saw it. He was able to run that slant route, but also be downfield on a crazy crossing post route across the top of the field that was just able to burn. He can do it all, it seems like, especially coming back from the injury here, which should be bad news for the other wide receivers on this team.
Exactly.
This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, we're going to dive into some kind of fantasy situations before we get into Warlock's Locks, talking fantasy football. Philip Rivers could start from the Colts this week. What sports legend do you want at their current age on your team right now? We'll get into that when we come back. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. We will be right back.
Hit the shower. Grab your coffee. And get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Usin and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in, folks. Welcome in. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke on the other side of the glass there. And this is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, just like that big voice lady just said. And she also said we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you guys missed the first hour of this show, do not fret. We are live streaming on Twitter, on YouTube. You can rewind it back on there. Wherever you got podcasts, this will be going up as a podcast afterwards. So do not worry. We will have it up for you. You can hear us talk about the Green Bay Packers and the Denver Broncos and whether or not this game matters for the Packers to win more than it does for the Bears and Lions to lose their games this week. We also talked about the Milwaukee Bucks, diving into what this team needs to do without Giannis on the court, and whether or not what we're seeing right now is sustainable while Giannis is out for the next 3 weeks or so. And we also dived into Christian Watson, discussing his amazing 2 performances over the past couple of weeks and what that means for this wide receiver room moving forward. We do want to move on from the Packers and just head into the world of professional football, though, where Phillip Rivers, 44-year-old quarterback, was on the Hall of Fame ballot this year, will no longer be on the Hall of Fame ballot because he's come out of retirement to play for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they just signed him to the practice squad. He is apparently a mentor to Riley Leonard, their third-string quarterback, who was supposed to start here for them going into Sunday. He apparently knows the entire Colts offense because he's been running it with his high school football team that he coaches with his son for the past 5 years or so.
Okay.
This is a situation where it feels like mentally all the things are there for Phillip Rivers, but let's not forget that he's 44 years old. Jack, what was your initial reaction to the news that the Colts not only signed him, but even were just talking to him?
You're down bad, brother. If that's your, I mean, look, Phillip Rivers, certainly good quarterback, gunslinger, great career, but man, it's like as if the Wizards asked Michael Jordan to come back and play right now. You can tell, looking at some of those highlights in practice, that man's put on some winter weight and he does not look that quick. Now, look, the Colts are just trying to survive and advance. And I guess when you're down that bad, you need something like that to, I guess, hopefully give you a win or two, but it looks deep, dark, and down for Indianapolis fans.
Definitely. This is Ryan Clark of ESPN, former NFL player, on First Take, discussing the Colts making a huge mistake if they decide to start Phillip Rivers this week.
This is not Michael Jordan coming back to play basketball after 3 years off for the Washington Wizards. This is a man in Phillip Rivers who was always a stationary target, taking 5 years off to coach high school football and then come back to play against the Seattle Seahawks, who will get after your keister if you were freaking Michael Vick. The one thing that Riley Leonard can do, because I watched him do it for 15 games last year, is get out of the way. If you watch the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, he was able to use his legs, scramble, hit Alec Pierce. He had a late touchdown drive in that game. He's been there the entire season. By the way, the last 5 years, he's been playing football. He's been working out. He's been preparing to be an NFL quarterback. Phillip Rivers has not. I think Phillip Rivers had a Hall of Fame career. I don't believe he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but when you walked into a stadium to play Phillip Rivers, you had to tighten up your chin strap because you knew he was going to compete. If I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I want to see him move off the spot, and I want to see it from every point that he passes the football. I don't give a care how much you hand it to Jonathan Taylor. I don't care how great you think your defense can play. Phillip Rivers should not be starting this game. And if he comes out and he plays well and he stays healthy, I'm not going to retract this statement because it is a bad decision to put him out there. And don't get me wrong. Somebody call me after 5 years and say you could play. I might go try to give him a play too. Phillip ain't wrong. Shane Steichen and the Colts are.
That's kind of the key to the whole end of that. Is I think Phillip Rivers for sure isn't in the wrong in this situation. If somebody asked me if I wanted to go play their NFL football right now, and I've been out of college football for 3 years now personally myself, yeah, I would go try. Why not? Why would I not be given the opportunity to go back and play the sport that I love that most people think they're done with when they're done with it? At the same time, I mean, Phillip Rivers, man, if you go out there and you pull an Aaron Rodgers on your first pass attempt and just get hurt immediately, which is very highly likely with a player of your age at this point, and your mobility also, because he put out there that he's like, I'm not running away from anybody in the first place because people were questioning his weight. This is all like such a weird situation. At the same time, the Colts were desperate, man. They needed to go out there and find something. I mean, Riley Leonard, I get it that he's a player that maybe you don't feel as confident in, but at the same time, like you would think that you'd give him another opportunity over giving Phillip Rivers an opportunity in this situation, that you would look at your team that you've built so far and say, I'm comfortable with that because we're one of the best teams in the AFC, even after this little 1-3 stretch that they've had. They've still been able to find ways to win football games this season behind the defense, behind a really strong receiver and running game core. I think that when looking at this whole Phillip Rivers situation, again, it feels like something where the Colts just looked at it and said, like, this is the only year we have a chance to win a Super Bowl. If we try to do this next year, we won't have Daniel Jones. We won't have even Phillip Rivers at this point. We don't feel confident in our team. And this is the result of that, is that you don't feel confident. So we go and get a guy that we just know knows the offense and can get us to that point of the playoffs. This leads me to my question. I want to get a little bit more fun with this. So everybody's got a favorite team. Doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, basketball, disc golf, if Jack wants to talk about legends in the disc golf world in a situation like this. But I wanted to ask you, if you could add one athlete, one legend back to your current team at their current age. So they have to be, if you're going to bring in Brett Favre, it's at the 50-something-year-old that Brett Favre is. If you were to add one legend to your team at your current age, who would it be? The Colts decided it was Phillip Rivers for some reason in this situation. I'd rather bring back Andrew Luck or maybe a 45-year-old Peyton Manning instead. Those are better options. Jack, if you had to look at this situation, pick one player to bring back to your favorite team at their current age, who would you bring back?
If I'm a GM and like, let's hypothetically say Jordan Love's down, we're still a playoff team. I'm calling a guy who now does what we do, except on TV. I'm calling Tom Brady up. I know that's like an easy out, so I'll go more soccer realistically. If I could have someone, Steven Gerrard, come back and play. He was quintessentially the greatest Liverpool player ever, had offers to go to Real Madrid and all these other places throughout his career and never left. I think you want that type of loyalty, but man, it's bleak. There's not many 40-year-olds or 50-year-olds I want coming back to play on a sports team.
Well, and I get that, but it doesn't have to be a 40 or 50-year-old. It just has to be a player that's not currently on your team.
True.
So you brought up Tom Brady, but I wanted to keep this specifically to players that played for that team coming back to that team. That was what I was thinking.
Ooh.
Devontae Adams is playing like a beast right now for the Rams, and to add him into this Packers offense and into that Packers wide receiver room, I mean, him and Christian Watson could be nasty. He's admitted that he missed out on the Jordan Love experiment and that he may have left too early. Yeah, and I get that, but at the same time that he did it, he wanted to go back home. He didn't ever feel like he left too early. He wanted to go back to Oakland, where they were playing at that point, and Oakland treated him awfully. And that was really kind of the big issue in that situation. It wasn't that, like, I guess he was missing the Packers or anything. It's that Oakland just didn't hold up their end of the bargain to Devontae Adams.
Quick side question. We've got a person texting and asking, what is the radio station they need to be listening to if they're in Appleton to this show?
So if you guys are in Appleton right now, you should be listening to 99.7 FM and 1440 AM. WNFL Sports is Green Bay and Appleton station. If you're in Wausau, you're listening on 93.9 The Game. If you're in Duluth, Superior, you're listening to 710 The Game. If you're in Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin, you're listening to 1250 AM or 105.7 FM, The Fan, to get on Wisconsin sports weekend this way.
Beautiful.
I think looking at the Green Bay Packers, the other thing that I would say I would be looking at for this team is potentially a more consistent offensive line presence. And I know he's a little bit older. He's spent the last couple of years of his NFL career injured, but he's still going to be in his 40s. He's still a solid piece of that middle of the offensive line. Josh Sitton is another guy that I would bring back, I think, for both of my teams, the Packers and the Bears.
I gotta agree. Josh Sitton wouldn't be a bad kick the tires for your offensive line. It's so rare that you ever hear of a team bringing a guy back who is a grandfather at 41. And I mean, maybe, okay, we're Bucks fans, right? If Lou Alcindor was like 20 years younger and like in his 40s, I know. Yeah, rules, I know I'm breaking the rules. Okay. I'm not bringing back Lou Alcindor, but maybe a guy like, I can't even say Michael Redd because he doesn't make us better.
Lou Alcindor's 78, by the way.
Yeah, I know. No, we don't want to hurt people with AARP cards. So it's a really good question, Charlie, because I'm going through the Rolodex and there's not many other answers I'd have other than maybe a Brett Favre. Josh Sitton is a great, maybe a Brian Bulaga if he can be healthy.
All right. I think I like that. The other name I was thinking of for the Green Bay Packers, too, is a guy that just fills up the middle of that defensive line with Devontae Wyatt out with injury right now. And again, I didn't think quarterback because they have Jordan Love. Jordan Love's set for the Green Bay Packers, but BJ Raji coming back for this defensive line, that could be a situation where I think he could really help out this team. I'm also a Bears fan, so like on that side of things, Akeem Hicks, if he were to come back and be able to play a couple snaps for that defensive line, just get in reps, I think those are both players that could come out and be really helpful to their team if they were brought back. I also want to dive into the baseball world a little bit for the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, man, they need some power. Prince Fielder, I don't think lost anything in his swing. He's feeling better. You
said this off air, and we said give him some free George Webb cheeseburgers and let him go for a month.
Prince is skinny now, Jack.
I know, right? He's
Prince is looking good.
Yeah,
he's looking good out here. He's a guy that I think if you were to add that into the lineup, if you didn't have the same kind of injury concerns, which I think there'd be increased now at his ripe age, I think this is a situation where he could come out and, from what I've heard from like Barry Bonds and other legends of baseball, is that you never stop seeing the pitch. Your eyes work the same no matter what. If you know how to see a pitch, you know how to read a pitch. If you know how to swing a bat, you still know how to swing a bat. It's about whether or not your body keeps up with you in those situations. I think Prince Fielder could be a guy that can come out and, if given the right opportunity, if put in the DH role, his body wouldn't give up as fast.
Definitely DH role. I don't think you're letting him see the field.
If you were to look at like positions across sports right now, let's start with football specifically. In football, what positions do you think are the ones that make sense to potentially bring back a veteran like this? Maybe not 44 years old like Phillip Rivers, but if you were to give an opportunity to a player that is out of the league for a couple of years, has spent the last few years that he was in the league, maybe a little bit injured, a little injury prone, what positions would you look at that you say that's the most reasonable to bring a player like that back into?
So Mason Crosby's really going to love this comment, but it's got to be kicker or a punter. I just feel like we've seen Vinatieri, we've seen guys, other guys that are still in the league in their 40s, punting and kicking. I think Whelan could kick for another 10 seasons pretty easily the way he's been punting for us. Quarterback, wide receiver, running back, you're relying so much on athletic ability and quick pace and quick movement that it's just a recipe for disaster. The more and more you play, the more likelihood of injury. So I'm going to have to, if I'm a GM and put my GM cap on, I'm going for a kicker or a punter.
What about tight end? Because that's been one of those positions throughout the past like 10 seasons or so in the NFL that you've seen a lot of players come back and retire from. Gronk, Jason Witten did it. Mercedes Lewis did it. These are all players that come back and in the right systems can thrive even at an older age. I mean, that's one of those spots where you're either blocking a ton like Mercedes Lewis, who almost never goes out on a route. He just is consistent at the line of scrimmage, currently on the Denver Broncos, by the way. Or you could be like a Jason Witten, where you're just constantly on a route, out running those little out routes, going out of bounds, getting out of bounds. I think that's a position where you're a bigger body guy, usually with a little bit more muscle on you, that you can take some of those hits even at an older age.
You're playing basketball on the football field. You're just posting up and catching. And you're right. Tony Gonzalez did it when he went to Atlanta from the Chiefs. So there's definitely a precedent that if you're a tight end, you can elongate your career a little bit. But other than that, like how many wide receivers do you see come back? And DeAndre Hopkins has had a drop off significantly. And
my dad had sent me on Instagram the list of the players over the age, I think it was of 40, that have receiving yards basically in their career. And Jerry Rice is by far number one. He's
easily
got a ton of yards, especially when he was playing with the Raiders and Seahawks at the end of his career there. Who do you think number 2 was on that list?
For a wide receiver?
It doesn't have to be wide receiver for any players. Any players possible, Jack.
Marshall Faulk?
No. Guess again. You get one more guess.
No,
it's a name you've said already. That's why.
Oh, Tony Gonzalez.
Nope. Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the number 2 leading receiver by the age of 40 in this list here. Later on in that list, Tom Brady has 6 yards in his career. Mercedes Lewis is number 3 at 2 yards. At number 5, behind a ton of players that are tied at 0 yards, Brett Favre has -2 yards.
Yeah, he caught his own pass.
Well, this is after the age of 40.
Okay.
So that first pass was before he was 40.
Well before he was in his AARP card looking days.
Exactly.
That means there's a chance for us. We just have to put on a little weight and wait till our 40s and let's go out and break a 2-yard record.
I think you kind of got to be good before that.
Yeah, that's true.
Opportunity when you're 40.
Yeah, that's true.
It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke over there. When we come back, we're going to dive into the Warlock's Locks, where he goes into his magical cheese cauldron, pulls out 4 magic tarot cards, and helps you predict your fantasy football lineups for this upcoming week. Again, I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. We are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. We will be right back.
eBay.
Go ahead now. It's a good song, but not the right music. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I am Charlie Houston, that is Jack Pembroke, and the mystical, magical music coming on here means it is time for Warlocks Locks, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. I am Charlie Houston, Jack Pembroke, the Wisconsin Warlock over there, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. If you guys are tuning into Warlocks Locks for the first time ever today, do not worry, I'll explain it real quick for you. It's where Jack, like I mentioned, the Wisconsin Warlock Pembroke over there, dives into his magical cheese head cauldron where he has got a ton of football cards in there. Sometimes we do basketball, sometimes we do baseball if we're feeling a little ballsy. But today we just wanted to stick with football. Jack will dive in, pick 4 cards. We will tell you what those players are, what their matchup is, the little storyline behind the game, and then Jack will make his prediction for said player. Jack, let's dive right into it. Take out that first card there.
Okay, this is going to be a good one. I can sense it. Oh, it is. Christian Watson.
Oh, we were just talking about the stud out of Green Bay. He is taking on the Denver Broncos this Sunday afternoon. Like I mentioned before, in his last 2 outings against the Detroit Lions, he had 4 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. And his outing against the Chicago Bears, another 4 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jack, this is a situation where, like you mentioned before, he's going up against Pat Surtain, probably a majority of this game, who's going to be running with the number 1 wide receiver. When we had Mike Evans on yesterday with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on Wisconsin Sports Daily, he was saying Surtain will usually travel with that number 1 across the field, and then Riley Moss is generally the guy that's on the number 2. Riley Moss is the person you have to worry about mostly with those interceptions. You mentioned Pat Surtain before being a little bit of ball hawk. Moss is that type of player, and from what we heard, Moss will probably not be on Christian Watson just because of the height disadvantage that's there. He'll be in more of the short field. Do you feel more confident in a Christian Watson in this situation against a Pat Surtain versus a Riley Moss, even though Pat Surtain is Pat Surtain?
Pat is the Grim Reaper of the like Revis Island of the NFL right now. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna think this is a wild bet, but I'm taking an anytime touchdown for Christian Watson in this game. He might not get the yardage because, like you said, Patrick Surtain is a lockdown ball hawk, and they do have some other mouths on that defense that can really hawk and get after the ball. I think maybe you're looking at 5 to 6 receptions and maybe,
It's better than his past couple of games. I mean, he's not even getting that target. He only got 4 targets in the last game, 4 catches.
I think you're going to see more of the Packers offense trying to get the ball early and often to Christian to get him going. Like you said, he scored on that beautiful slant. I think we'll see early on some quick hitters to him or kind of within the first 10 to 15 yards. And then in the second and third quarter, you'll start to see them go after that secondary and kind of see if they're cheating up or if they're out of position. I think he can give you, if you're flexing him, a lot of people have other wide receivers, but I think, look, if he's on your bench, like you have him on one of your benches, it's hard to start saying, I don't need to start him, but you have a bevy of the world's greatest wide receivers on your bench. So I can understand you not starting him, but I think we're looking at Christian Watson giving you somewhere of a floor of 13 to 14 points in fantasy.
Do you think that's like an automatic start for most people? What would be a couple players that you would put him above this week in your mind?
If you're in the playoffs and you have guys like Drake London on your team that are injured and you're smart enough not to start a Darnell Mooney, I think you plug Christian Watson into that flex. To me, if you have a running back that you feel more confident, maybe you're plugging in that running back to flex. But I don't think he's a bad play, and I think for daily fantasy, he's a sneaky play. You'll probably get him pretty cheap, and he's probably going to outperform again this week.
Well, and I think I look at some of these other games across the league, like Cleveland against Chicago. I know Jerry Jeudy's been a guy a lot of people have been streaming over the past couple of weeks. Last week, he had a really good game with Shedeur Sanders throwing him a couple of deep balls. This Bears defense is a lot stronger than the Tennessee Titans defense. This is a situation where I think you start Christian Watson pretty easy over Jerry Jeudy, who's been, again, a starter over the past couple of weeks. In LA, you got like Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston who are going up against the Chiefs. Yeah, those
Yeah,
look.
I don't trust them.
It's not that I don't trust those wide receivers. I don't trust the Chargers offensive line.
That's better
It is
put.
disgusting
Yeah.
on that group, and Justin Herbert is just fighting for his life consistently. I mean, this is a shot for Christian Watson to kind of really, again, cement his name as that number 1 wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Jack, who's number 2 in Warlock's Locks?
Okay, we're going to find out. I'm going deep into the cheese ball.
All right. What do we got?
Troy Franklin.
All right. So on the other sideline for the Denver Broncos, taking on the Green Bay Packers, you're going to have Troy Franklin. He is former college teammate of Bo Nix as well out there in Oregon. They have a really good connection. So far this season, they started off hot and then later on kind of have cooled off a little bit as the rest of the offense has suffered from injuries. Seen the wide receiver room take a little bit of a hit there. The running back room, they lost J.K. Dobbins for the rest of the season, so now they're working on rookie R.J. Harvey. The interior of their offensive line has dealt with some injuries so far this season. Troy Franklin on the year, if we look at his stats, is 541 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. He's a player that has that kind of big play ability. Jack, what do you expect from Troy Franklin?
I think, look, you got to look at kind of the trends, right? And it's the playoffs for fantasy. You're not really taking a risk on this guy if you have a better option. But hey, if he's your only option at wide receiver, I feel bad for you because I feel like there's just other guys you could pick up, a Darius Slayton or someone that is going to be in a better game suited for more points. I just think I'm someone who's a bit stitious. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a bit stitious. He hasn't shown me that you can rely on him. So for me, it's a sit this week. I think he's giving you somewhere around 9 or 10 points.
I think that's fair. You'll get his last 2 games against Las Vegas and Washington, both teams that aren't very good defensively. In Washington, only had 3 targets, caught 2 of them for 21 yards, but that's not too effective. And then against Las Vegas, only had 4 targets, caught 3 of them for 11 yards. So you look at that compared to some of his games earlier in the year. From the bye week from the London game, in week or October, he had 4 catches in that game against the Jets. Then he has 10 targets, 8 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, but he's only catching about half of those in each of those games at best. And then these last 2 games, you just see those targets get taken away. I think against the Packers, that doesn't change.
No, the Packers are smart on defense, and with that renewed speed rush, we're going to get a Luke Van Ness back. Micah Parsons is just going to create some bedlam behind there, and I don't see it being conducive with who we have at DB. Like, Carrington Valentine's just going to be talking a load of crap to Troy Franklin the whole time, and that's just mentally, I don't think Troy Franklin is going to be able to take it.
That is fair. Jack, 3rd in Warlock's Locks.
Okay, let's hope it's a good one. Troy Franklin was kind of saying. Okay, this is interesting, actually. I like this. Justin Jefferson.
All right, Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. That is a team that has been greatly struggling over the past few weeks here with that team. They did get a big win against Washington last week, 31-0, but then they come back and take on the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, is that a game that, despite the Minnesota Vikings offense struggling as much as it has over the past few weeks, Dallas Cowboys defense isn't exactly anything to be too worried about so far?
And you'd like to hope that the head coach, Kevin Johnson, gets you got to get your best players involved, right? And you'd like to think that J.J. McCarthy can find his $100 million wide receiver. He's got a really fancy, bright chain on underneath his jersey that's, very bright. So you can't miss him that way. I just think in a world where Justin Jefferson's a great football player, he's got to be able to – this team has to be able to figure out how to get this man the ball if they're going to win.
I think that's the biggest key. You mentioned J.J. McCarthy. This is a situation where I don't think you have anybody else to really bother throwing the ball to. I mean, he should only be looking for the number 1 wide receiver in the entire NFL.
TJ Hawkinson's not going to be really touching the ball that much. Addison hasn't shown me much. To me, I think they're working through a lot right now, and you just have to look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but they need to fix it. They need to throw early and often to Justin Jefferson, and I'd like to think it's the playoffs. Justin Jefferson knows that people drafted him really high. he has to show me that he can get above the 13-point mark. So I think if you're hoping for 13 points in a PPR league, then I think Justin Jefferson might just get you that this week. It's been a little scary if you're a Justin Jefferson owner. I think he's a tentative start for me just because the matchup is that good against the Dallas Cowgirls. And JJ McCarthy, if he's paid well and can listen to his coaches, they're going to be telling him, get the ball to Jay Jettas.
I mean, and last week, the only thing I worry about a little bit from a Justin Jefferson perspective is they were going up against another poor defense in Washington. He only has 4 targets in that game, where JJ McCarthy has 3 touchdowns. I mean, this is a game where it should feel like that is meant for Justin Jefferson to explode. Right?
You're taking your head and smashing it against the wall if you own Justin Jefferson, and you're just like, these have all been games. He should be dropping 20 points for me.
Right, exactly. Against the Dallas Cowboys, that feels like a game that he definitely should be able to go out and do that.
You're feeling a shootout in this one,
exactly.
aren't you?
Exactly.
Okay, so if we're feeling a shootout, I think Justin Jefferson can meet, if you want 14 or 15 points, he should be able to give you that.
All right, Jack, last up in the Warlocks locks here.
Okay. Hopefully it's a good one. Okay. Oh, Kyren Williams.
Okay.
Interesting, because I had been telling people at our first remote, I told people way too early, if you want to win your playoffs, pick up Blake Corum. It looks like it's looking like a 50-50 share. Kyren Williams has kind of regressed. Blake Corum looks like the healthy back. He's getting the red zone touches. So I think, but Kyron's still been able to perform even though it's been a 50-50 thing. To me, it looks a lot like last year did with the Lions with Gibbs and Montgomery being able to both feast. I tend to think Kyren can still give you a price floor of somewhere around 14 to 15 points.
I think that's fair. I think that's something that you can usually guarantee from him. He has 8 touchdowns on the season. Feels like the guy that they're going to go to in those red zone situations if it's not Devontae Adams, who has been by far the red zone guy for them.
And has a hamstring injury that he's questionable right now. I mean, look, the guy's going to play.
Yeah, he's played through that a couple times this season, that same hamstring.
But you like to think, okay, there's going to be some more opportunities for other guys if he's not 100%. And Kyren Williams, whether it's Kyren or Blake Corum, those guys are going to get you points and try and help you win your fantasy playoff match, your first round. I think, like, look, he's a tentative start. I'm thinking you're getting somewhere between 13 to 15 in PPR. I think he's going to lose a little bit to Blake Corum because Blake Corum's just running so well right now. And look, these teams don't care about your fantasy seasons. They want to win. And it's the hot hand is going to ride. But I think with a 50-50 split, Kyren is still going to be able to help you.
All right, I like that. And I think going up against the Detroit Lions team, who has struggled just defensively this season, when you're playing a team like the LA Rams, who are so potent offensively, it makes you worry a little bit that if you're an owner of the wide receivers on that team, the Puka Nakuas, the Devontae Adams, like I am in one of my leagues, I have bye weeks, so I don't care, man. I'm killing your league.
Yeah, you are dominating. Charlie, luckily, I love Charlie as a human being. Otherwise, I would be so vexed that you joined our league and are dominating. But I will see you in the title. I promise you that.
All right, I like the confidence in that. But when you're playing with like these two wide receivers, I think this is more a game where I'm not confident in Kyren Williams as much as I'm not confident in the wide receivers, just because I feel like the Rams are going to come out here and kill the Lions.
I have Matt Stafford as my quarterback. They're gonna be a little pass happy. They're gonna spread it out, I think. But you got to hope Kyren or Blake get you some red zone touches for touchdowns.
And again, once you hit like a 14-point lead in the third quarter, are you throwing the ball anymore? Even if you're the Rams, I mean, you got to start just feeding the rock. And if there's two running backs, again, that's why I'm not 100% in love with Kyren Williams, but I'm definitely not in love with the wide receiver room for a game like this. That will do it for the Warlocks locks over there. We have a start for Christian Watson in that flex spot, maybe not a wide receiver spot, but if you got a room in your flex, that may be a spot to stick him at. Troy Franklin is a sit, a big-time sit. Justin Jefferson is a start if you're feeling confident. Again, that was more of like a flex start for your team as well, along with Christian Watson. And then last up, Kyren Williams. Again, in that same kind of boat, but definitely a higher upside, a higher floor than like a Justin Jefferson or a Christian Watson so far this season. Jack, thank you so much for your Warlocks amazing predictions. You got a cheese ball parlay that you want to throw together here?
You know, we're just going to off the dome. Let's go anytime touchdown, Christian Watson. anytime touchdown, Harold Fannin Jr.,
Okay.
because that is the hot hand. I also have him on my team, picked him up very early this season. And then we'll throw in one more. I'll let you add to the parlay.
I'm going to head over to New Orleans, and I think I'm going to look at that team and that game that they're playing against the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to say,
Joanna Man.
I kind of want to go with him. I kind of do. But I'm going to say in this game, Tyler Shugg over 2.5 touchdowns. I think he has 3 touchdowns in this game.
I love it.
Panthers.
I love the
Throw
confidence. He's on your bench too.
Yeah, that's why I'm rocking with it. I've been in love with Tyler Shugg a lot lately. He's really taken a next step. He looks like that veteran quarterback that the New Orleans Saints was looking to draft when they made that pick. I know a lot of people were questioning it, but he looks like he's come in and been just poised enough in order to make this team competitive towards the end of the season when you want to see them be competitive. They weren't a team that was going to make a playoffs, but you want to see that they take next steps, and they're doing that with that quarterback right there, a guy who's a little bit of a veteran. All right, that'll do it for the Warlocks Locks. When we come back, it'll be time for the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl. I'm Charlie Houston. That is Jack Pembroke. We are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor right there on historic Brady Street. When we come back, it'll be time to crawl. How we doing, folks? How we doing? I'm Charlie Houston. That is Jack Pembroke over there. If you guys are brand new to Wisconsin Sports Weekend, then you may be wondering why this Irish pub music is just popping on here. Oh, it's because Mr. Pembroke over there, Wisconsin Warlock, and I are going to go on a little pub crawl with you guys here as we run across the world of sports, from Wisconsin sports to national sports, sometimes the science of sports. If Jack is feeling a little fun, a little frisky with that.
No science this week, sorry.
That's fine. That's all right. My brain has worked a lot this week, Jack. That's okay. But we go back and forth, share some stories that we may have missed, that you guys may have missed, some fun stuff that we want to share with you. First off, I'm going to turn down the Irish music a little bit as we dive into former NFL center Mitch Morse on my side of the pub crawl. He was discussing this hilarious story of the most embarrassing moment of his NFL career. I played it yesterday for Sparky. Jack, I want you to hear it as well.
Right.
I was feeling a little under the weather, so I got 2 IVs, and they called ringer bags, so it's extra salt. And I'm in a play action pass in the fourth quarter, and I just deuce my pants quickly
Oh my gosh.
and violently, and I just run off the field, and they somehow know. And I go into the concussion tent, and I've had a bunch of concussions in my career, so my family's like freaking out, and I come out, play a game later, and they called it a wardrobe malfunction. So if you ever see something that says a wardrobe malfunction on a report about a medical thing, that's someone who deuced their pants.
How often does this happen, Mitch? Not to you, but how often do guys deuce their pants?
I would say, man, I think my last year in Buffalo, we had 5 guys deuce their pants, maybe 3 or 4.
3 or 4 guys deucing their pants. Just a normal thing for guys to be deucing their pants, Jack?
This makes me think people are on a lot of Adderall.
They're on something that's like making them like just the fluids though going through your body.
That's
like
true.
When you're an NFL player, they have like these IVs, like he's talking about going through you, especially if you're sick. Like it just makes it seem like they're just getting everything, and it is just completely not solid whenever it's coming out. When you're
Things
playing
I've
football.
never done in my sporting career that I'm just glad that never happened.
Exactly. I'm glad that's never happened to me either. Jack, what do you got up first on your side of it?
So we are going a little up north to Oshkosh, UW Oshkosh women's team. We had talked about them playing in the national title game. Guess what? They won the big old natty.
Woo!
Tighten up, baby. So what makes it even more special is it's the first time in 24 years that a program has gone 3-0 in every set along the way to a championship. So that's, man, they are really the titans of their sport. That is amazing.
So they went 3-0 in every set. Jack, do you know by chance, I don't expect you to know this, but do you know, did they lead that entire time? Like in all
Yes.
those games too as well? That's crazy.
That's when you're dominating. They are a D3 powerhouse, and I love when I go up to visit my dad up in Oshkosh and I get to go by and see all their different national titles. They've got basketball for both teams in the last couple of years. They got great soccer programs. It's good to see D3 programs thrive, especially in Wisconsin.
Well, and I think some people from across the state, I feel like everybody in the state of Wisconsin knows about the D3 culture, world of sports in Wisconsin. But if you are listening from maybe Michigan, maybe Minnesota, Illinois, wherever you're listening from across the country, Wisconsin is just this D3 powerhouse when it comes to sports.
Juggernaut.
There are so many schools that are just the best at some sport.
Whitewater,
is dominant all the
lacrosse,
time.
Platteville.
It's crazy. Almost every school in that UW program is just a powerhouse. It's really awesome to see that, again, somebody from your home state, no matter where they are, is going and winning national championships. You got to be proud of it.
Testament to high school sports in the state.
Let's stick with college volleyball, though. Let's go from D3 to D1, where the Wisconsin women's volleyball team advances to the Elite Eight. They took down Stanford yesterday, which was a huge game for this team. Wisconsin will now be moving on and facing the number 1 seeded Texas, which is a team that is perennially dominant.
We lost last year in the title game to them.
So that is, again, the Elite Eight. The other parts of that bracket over there, Nebraska versus Texas A&M on the other side. And then you got Purdue, Pittsburgh, and Creighton, Kentucky in the bottom half of the bracket. That seems pretty brand new. Usually Minnesota's up there with a lot of these
Nebraska.
teams. But Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Texas are the powerhouses that are once again in there. It's kind of cool to see like Kentucky, Creighton, Pitt. I know Pitt was a 1 seed this season, same with Kentucky, but still cool to kind of see them involved in other sports than what you normally see them involved in. Jack, what do you got up next on the pub crawl?
Let's get serious for a second. If you're a Michigan fan, please close your ears. What is going on in Ann Arbor? Look, I'm not trying to give advice or life advice to people, but don't make it obvious when you're cheating on your wife, and then don't tie your career to the assistant that you're dating secretly, and maybe don't crash out the way Sharon Moore crashed out. Prayers up to the Michigan football program, but it looks like there was even deeper, darker issues than just cheating and following people's play structures. Look, like Herm Edwards used to say, don't press send. Don't date out of marriage. It keeps it a lot more simple, and you keep your $5 million a year job.
Right. I mean, he had the spot. Everybody's talking about, even after all this Jim Harbaugh situation with the cheating scandal, and now Sharon Moore with a different kind of cheating scandal going on here in this situation. I mean, it's still almost crazy to me that Michigan is still considered one of the top jobs. Like, people are talking about Kalen DeBoer leaving Alabama to go up to Michigan instead.
Look, hubris is the ultimate downfall of man. And sometimes people just think, so one thing I do want to finish with, he was texting OnlyFans models during the middle of the half against Ohio State. So his mind is not on football right now. They need a new coach.
Right. And I think that when looking at this job opening now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, like, they may give you more freedom because they just are desperate to find somebody to go in that spot. Man, I don't think I want this Michigan job if I'm a head coach across
It's
the country.
going to be like a leash on a 5-year-old ADD kid at Costco.
Right. You're not part of the family if you're coming in, unless you're Jesse Minter or Los Angeles, and he's not leaving the Chargers because their defense looks phenomenal. And if he's going to get a head coach job, it might be as an NFL head coach. I'd rather have that than a college head coach job, especially since if he does come back to Michigan, he's going to have to serve some kind of suspension too, because he never served the suspension when he left with Jim Harbaugh in this situation. So this is all just a really weird situation for Michigan football. I mean, like, I feel for the players on the team. I feel for, like, Bryce Underwood, who had a great rookie season or a freshman season in this scenario. And now he's got to think about hitting the transfer portal, even though they gave him a shot right away to start, which almost no other school will do unless you are a stud. And he is a stud. Hey, Wisconsin, throw a little money his way.
Yeah,
hey, see if you can get him over.
If you want to be a Badger, then come along with me.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to head on over to the MLB and discuss some of the winter meeting updates. I'm sure you guys saw some of the bigger deals that have happened across the league. Kyle Schwarber going back to the Phillies. You had Pete Alonso heading over to Baltimore from the New York Mets, which was a really big deal. Earlier today, Jorge Polanco signed a 2-year, $40 million deal with the New York Mets. He was formerly of the Seattle Mariners, the Minnesota Twins. He's a really solid player when he's healthy and is able to stay on the field. 2 years, $40 million is crazy. $20 million a year. I have never seen like a contract in that same kind of range.
I'll sign up for that. That's
right,
good.
exactly.
That's a solid contract.
Jorge Polanco is generally a middle infielder, sometimes played third base. He's expected to play first base and DH for the New York Mets, which should be an interesting situation for the player there. A guy, again, who's a former All-Star very recently, too, as well. Jack, what do you got to blast on the pub here?
So, Charlie, plug for us. Did you ever thought you were going to be on a mural artwork?
I did not.
No.
I did not ever think that. No.
Well, MKE Exchange, which is one of my putting leagues, they are right by Dropout Fight Club in River West. They have decided that we are somewhat cool and famous enough that we are getting our own mural there.
All right. I like to hear that. Jack, what is a putting?
So putting league, as you can see outside in the negative Hoth conditions of Star Wars that we're living in right now in Milwaukee, it's a great way to just get inside, you putt on baskets, and you just hang out with disc golf people because you can't go out in the snow.
It sounds like a great time. I have to check it out sometime.
You'll come. Oh, yeah. I'll bring you by.
We'll get out there. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. That will do it for Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl. And subsequently, we'll do it for Wisconsin Sports Weekend. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really love having you guys on with us in the YouTube chat at WI Sports Radio, on social media, in the text line. We love having you guys on the show, so always join. Have a great rest of your weekend, folks. Again, I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. We are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Again, have a great rest of your weekend, folks. Have a good one.